Hello there. Welcome to today's or yesterday's KMS wrap up for May 28th, 2021. Temporary peace in Madawaska. So, my normal Friday guest, Blind Owl, is getting married today. So, we couldn't make it for some reason. So, I'm joined by Ned Snark. Ned, how you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me, Justin. I'm glad I could fill in at the last minute.
Yeah, no, it's great to talk to you again. So, yesterday's episode, it was different. Madawaska Rob and Tim Ridgels were in studio. They both produced it. Um, well, Madawaska Rob produced it. Tim was there with a one-liner every now and then, but it was interesting. The news coming off of Wednesday's episode, where they talked about the renaming of a street in Madawaska to Kirk Minahan Way. Kirk thought it was permanent. It came out right after the episode dropped on Wednesday that it was a temporary, it was Kirk Minahan Way for a day. And I 100% agree with Kirk that it just sounds like it sounds more like it's either you go all in or you don't.
Right. They were doing I thought an appeasement, like this will make him happy. Yeah.
Yes, it's kind of like, oh well, I don't know, like I'll buy you an ice cream if you don't, it was just one of those things where it was just not a good look.
Well, we learned yesterday too. The price of ice cream is very expensive now.
Yes, very,
that
very
was ridiculous. But circling back to having Tim and Rob in there, huge fans. I missed their show. I love that show that they did. You're right. Rob's the technician. He knows how to run the board. Or he didn't know how to run a board, but he was more technical than Tim, and he learned quick. And by the way, I think there was a pretty good job. You can't blame Rob for the sound quality he received and tried to play. It's whoever sent the quality. So it was great. And it was fun. And Tim, of course, cracks me up a little too many F-bombs, but and they called his wife a fucking bitch, which I thought was a bit extreme. I know I couldn't get away with that.
That was it was just out of nowhere. He's like
out of nowhere.
Kirk's like, yeah, I actually met your wife at a grocery store, and he's like, that fucking bitch was deciding between eggs, and then Kirk's like, oh Jesus Christ, there.
Yeah, even when Kirk Minahan says something's gone too far, it's gone too far. So yeah. But they did a great job, and we all respect and really appreciate Rob, like on a moment's notice, driving up to Madawaska to attend that 5:30 or 5 o'clock town meeting. I think that the selectmen just read what was off of John Featherston's submission to rename a street. And I really think it was up to Rob to kind of push it. He had a moment to talk, and I know that he didn't get his to make the full case, but knowing Kirk as he does, as we do, it was either all or nothing. So either you name the street or you pull back and say, well, let's take it up later on when you have to go through all the legalities that are involved. And you do have to notify the post office. And I can see why you'd want to speak to the people on that street about naming it. So it's not, I don't think, a one meeting deal. But he should have known a little bit what the Kirk's expectations were. And a one day only is not going to suffice.
Yeah, it was just something where it's just like, well, if you're doing one day, you might as well not do it at all. It's just it's embarrassing to just have it be one day. Especially like when they were like, self-proclaimed son of Madawaska, and not for nothing, but I do think Kirk has done a lot for the Madawaska community.
Sure.
In the whole sense of, hosting 2 live events, hosting a live event every year, bringing hundreds of people up, and just dumping money into the community. To just straight up be like, yeah, he really hasn't done anything. It's just kind of like insulting.
Yeah. And he does, if you listen to the podcast, Madawaska comes up at least once or twice a week, and for for a number of minutes per week discussing Madawaska. Yeah. So it is a bit they're a bit ignorant as to what the extent of the Kirk Minahan show is, and I can kind of understand that, although not really, because they all knew we were there. In February of, was it 2019 or 2020? Sorry,
2020. Yeah.
And we made a big deal there, and you think we'd pick up some listeners who'd be also advocating on our behalf. So I'm talking about Stacy and Bruce.
But it's but no, I think, for Rob to go up there, just on his own. Good for him.
Yep.
To do that. I'm sure the drive up there, I will say, it is beautiful, especially when you're not in the middle of a snowstorm. It's a lot nicer, but
Yeah. It's 8 hours from
yeah,
Central Mass or Middlesex County or wherever Rob's coming out of. So
yeah,
it's a long drive.
Yeah, it was unreal.
Yeah.
So I mean, tip of the hat to him. But yeah, and I do think Kirk. I do think Kirk on the phone call with the town selectman actually did a good job of like not overpowering him. I didn't know
Correct.
what kind of Kirk we were going to get. I didn't know if we were going to get the one, because I mean, if you listen to the episode, what Kirk says before the interview is a lot more insulting, where he's like, how about this? I'll jam my dick down your throat. I didn't know if we were going to get that Kirk, or are we going to get like the, okay, let's legitimately like talk this over. We kind of got a mixture of it. And I think that came across very well.
That's a good point, Justin, because right before that call, I thought that Madawaska was off. And I was a bit relieved because I can't go because I have a conflict. The original week of June 4th, June 5th, or 5th and 6th, I had already booked the rooms. I was ready to go. Then when they moved it to the following weekend, I already had plans. So I was kind of thinking like, oh, good. Well, it's going to be off. He won't do it. But yeah, he took a completely different tact and was mollified, I guess, to a certain point. So the show goes on, which is I'm happy for.
So I'm happy that it's going to take place too. And
you have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's everything's coming along pretty smoothly.
Good.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. But what was I saying?
Well, was he a selectman, I guess?
Yes.
He was put on the spot. He handled it well. He's a politician, so he handled a small town politician. He handled it very well. And by Kirk kind of letting him slide a bit, asking him direct questions it was good. He got his message across. Now, what's interesting is that article in the Fiddlehead Focus, that circulated in the Minifan world, right away, right?
Yep.
I thought that was, I read it and I'm like, oh, this is a great article. And then I had to put on my, Minahan hat and like, well, what's Kirk not going to like about this article? First thing that jumped out was the self-proclaimed quote, son of Madawaska, end of quote. I'm like, oh, he's not going to like that.
Yeah.
that. And turns out, surprise.
Long-time controversial Boston radio host. It's like, just come on out and say it. Just,
right. Right.
And
Rob did well in that, being quoted in that article as well.
Yes,
Rob got as much in as he possibly could.
Yes, he did. I will find it very strange that when Rob and myself reached out to her, she's like, no, I don't. She's like, I'm not in a position to comment on Madawaska or on the article. And it's like, well, wrote the article.
Yeah.
I feel like if anyone's going to comment on this, it should be you.
Correct. Yeah.
But it's but no, it came out a different way.
So Kirk tossed the key to the city, and
yes,
hearing that for those who listened to the episode, it was amazing. But then seeing, I guess from the show clips of it actually happening, and then him going ahead and tasering, and hats off to Kirk for doing the side holding of the taser gun.
That's right.
I thought that was pure gangster. Winchester gangster. That was fantastic. And Tim's correct response was, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah, that was very, very funny to have Tim in there at first, but no, there's a big chunk of the wall now that's destroyed.
I saw that picture too
from Tim, and I went and I threw the key out in the I don't know if you saw
that too.
With me. Someone came and took the key, so I don't know.
Okay. I thought you might have gone back and retrieved it. So
no,
it's gone.
No, I went to go see it at the end of the show. To see if it was still there, and it wasn't there. So,
oh wow!
It's someone holds the key to the city of Madawaska now.
Dumpster diving in Watertown. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So that was that. It was interesting. But yeah, it's lucky that they collect the trash on Thursdays. It was I don't know if you saw it, but it was completely empty for the most part.
Right. Which makes you think, who would dumpster dive after the trash is picked up? You want to get there before it's picked up. That's where the goodies are.
Yeah.
So I hear.
I think someone saw my live stream and was like, "Oh, I'm going to go pick that up."
Ah, true. Yeah.
So
good point.
It's that's what I think happened. Other than Madawaska, I do think Rob, played some good clips. I mean, the clip of Mike's show where I texted Craig that about the slavery statistic, I think was a funny segment. It brought out my controversial take that I'm not a big fan of slavery.
Yep.
Which Kirk's response was, I like that. He was like, damn, that is a hot take.
Yep. Yep. John Brown, Justin Trudell, the greatest abolitionists of all time. Yep.
That's right. Yep. That's right. Don't get me going.
Don't get him going.
But his Jerry clips, talking about John Cena,
that was great.
Good. I'm not a Jerry fan. I kind of like it whenever Kirk just reacts to Jerry's sound,
right?
Because it could either go one of two ways. I like Kirk 100% agrees with him in this instance. He's like, yeah, I mean, John Cena absolutely, sucks the dick of the Chinese government.
Correct.
But you never know. Like in this instance, you kind of knew how Kirk was going to react, but
right.
There's other sound of Jerry out there.
Well,
where Kirk reacts, and
they're getting along now, so it's a little different.
Yes.
But yeah, I hate. It's well known how much I can't stand and think Keller fraud is just a waste of everyone's time. And I really hope Matt gets a good job, but unless he confronts Jerry on that show, I won't listen. But if he does, I might start listening. But I hate Jerry that much. But he's not always, even a broken clock is right twice a day, and he's not wrong about this. So that was a good cut by Rob on that.
I will say it was very interesting to have like a political segment up, and then Carabas is like, "Oh, have you heard about this?" And
right.
because since it had to do with WWE, he was all in on. He was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard about this. Did you see what a fraud John Cena is?" And it's like, "Ooh, we're getting the political Carabas. I like it."
Justin, I think maybe Ari Minahan and I were probably more impressed that Jared knew, a little history of Taiwan, that it became an independent country in 1949, right, and it's a UN recognized country, and I thought I was more impressed with that than almost anything else.
Yeah, it was good on Jared, flexing that brain muscle of his.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's
steroids work up there too. That's good to know.
Just, how he knew. He's like, because doesn't Taiwan? Didn't he say like Taiwan plays in the Little League World Series, and that's how he knows?
That's how he knows.
So it's just like everything all falls back to baseball.
Correct.
But it's
correct. That's why he wants a Dominican kid. If he's going to adopt, he wants a Dominican. I like that too. That was funny.
That's right.
But there was also I brought this up before you jumped on. As Jared coming on, Tim quickly jumped out of his chair, which was great. Very generous, and Tim Tim and you kind of contributed off mic a bit, which was fine. And of course, one of the things that has forever cracked me up about Kirk Minahan is when he does imitations, whether it's Trini or anybody else, but he does a great Dale Arnold, and he did he recalled the Jared Remy story of being arrested and Dale being in the studio for John, and does a perfect one. And of course, typical Dale doesn't believe it, can't understand us, and keeps staring intently at the text line, as he used to.
This doesn't make sense,
Doesn't make right. Yeah.
It is great whenever Kirk. I mean, it's just funny especially now that Dale's like retired,
right?
And just
listening.
It's funny. I just think back at that was one of my favorite days of the Kirk Minahan show, was Dale's last day.
Yes.
Just everyone prank phone calling him.
Yep.
Him having to take planted calls from Michael Hawley and other people. And
the fact that he's always been so onion-skinned sensitive to any criticism, whether it's verbal or written. Him reading the angry texts was a riot, because he'd do the angry voice when he'd read them. Texter in the 207 says, "Dale, you idiot." Come on.
Yeah. But if you re-listen to that episode, someone says like, "Oh, so-and-so is like ripping it up, like they ripped up your contract at WEI." and he just afterwards, he's like, he has his little group of people going today, and he's just like, just say his name.
Right.
Say his name, Dale. I wonder
if it's Voldemort at EEI. Yeah, you can't say Kirk's name.
Burns his tongue to say Kirk Minahan.
Yeah. But there was a couple of little tidbits from this episode, which, by the way, was over 2 hours. So it was great. We got an extra treat. Yep. Which was very much appreciated, especially before the long holiday weekend and no show on Monday. Mm-hmm. So it was well appreciated. Thank you very much. And but one thing we learned that I caught was that when Carabas and Kirk were talking about,
Massage parlors.
but first massage parlors. And by the way, Rob had a very strange story about that, about getting hosed down. Very strange.
Yeah, very strange. And then just be like, oh yeah, no, I have friends.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
this is a married father of two guy. Yeah. No. I mean, I just heard.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just like you go there on Wednesdays, and he's like, this is who you ask for.
They have like a Dexter murder room, with covered in plastic, and then they rinse you.
Yeah, that sounds
so
sexy.
great. Yeah, right.
Yeah, just covered in plastic, and there's this hose coming down the bottom, and they just spray you down. It's like
awful.
What is going on?
Yeah, cringeworthy.
But
when they learned that, when Kirk says that he is the Mozart of masturbation, another these under the conversation type of lines that you just crack up, because of course Mozart was an accomplished pianist as well, really good with his fingers, really good with his hand, and I burst out laughing at that. So I don't know if anybody else caught that, but that's a great one.
No, it was great, and they were both making good points. Jared's like, yeah, surprisingly, I've never been to a massage parlor. It's like, neither have I. And then they described like why they haven't, and it makes complete sense. So like, why would you go pay someone to do something you've been doing your entire life and can do it a million times better?
Yeah.
And also, I mean, Kirk would just be awkward in that situation. I can just imagine I can't imagine Kirk getting a massage, let alone a happy ending.
Well, I imagine most people would be uncomfortable in that type of situation. So Kirk doesn't fall out of the spectrum of normalcy in that regard. I would never allow that. That gives me the creeps, actually.
No. Yeah. Especially if I like walk into a place and it's covered in plastic. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna head out of here. And they're like, yeah, just you got to get naked and we're going to hose you down first. I'm like, no. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I forgot my wallet in my car.
Right. Yeah. And I like how Tim, we should also point out, going back to Tim and Rob, Tim was reluctant to, of course, dox himself that he lives in Kennebunk, which I thought was hysterical. He's like, well, I'm in Kennebunk. I mean, Southern Maine. Then Kirk almost narrows down to exactly where he lives. Like, oh, so you're off of Main Street. And which is another underappreciated Minahan skill. Around Massachusetts, Southern New Hampshire, and Southern Maine, you can give him a town and he kind of can point out things in that town where he's been. He's been, because he drives so much. He loves the open road, as Springsteen says, and he can pretty much name anywhere. Like he called out when Rob mentioned that he's in Lowell. Yeah, he's like, no, I'm near Drake. He goes, oh, is she near 113? It's like, oh, geez, that's fast. So so it's another skill. We've got Google Maps, we have Minahan Maps too. So
I do think it would be interesting just if Kirk did like not kind of like a encyclopedia, but just kind of like a list of like towns in Massachusetts, and just kind of like, because he'll name things that like, he's like, oh, that pizza place is just fucking incredible, or oh, they used to have a really good Italian place, but it turned into something after the Sun took it over. He just has a bunch of old good bits on random knowledge.
Correct. So I have to say, this was one of the better shows, because just the new faces and the interactions. We're all going to miss Steve to a degree, some more than others, but Steve did bring a certain thing to the show. And while we wait for the Cullinane era to begin in another month, a month from today, in fact, right? No, I'm sorry, a month from today. Yesterday. So we're going to see a lot of interim producers and people come in to cover that time. Of course, Kirk's also going on holiday. So that'll be there's a little time there, but this was a really, really good show. Yeah, 5-star.
I like this week. I liked it how it started off with Carano. I think Craig did a good job on Wednesday. I think
Craig did a great job.
The kind of the randomness of having Tim and Rob come in was something no one could have predicted.
Yeah,
would have happened.
Can Steve from Providence be far behind?
Yeah, I know. It's they must be coming up soon.
Yeah,
but it's
Steve and Tim would be good. Steve and Tim and Ken would be a good return.
Oh, it'd be great.
Yeah,
it would be excellent. But it's let's hope. I'm sure that show's going to keep on a ticking next week. It's nice that Mike's been. It seems like Mike's been coming in more and more.
Yep.
I know he's coming in on Wednesday next week, and Carabas will be coming in. There's only 2 shows next week, but it's nice that Mike's just able to bend his schedule around. Like if Kirk says, "Hey, come in, you want to come in?" Mike's always like, "Sure,
step in." Sure.
So I'm always looking forward to that.
And he's bringing it too. Since Mike has come back in this type of role, the once a week, his contribution has been great. He's kind of back to feeling a lot more comfortable, whether Steve is there or not. And the Steve relationship, we don't know, but he seems 100% more confident, comfortable, and he's contributing more the way he did when the show first started.
I do think it is telling that Steve announced his departure on a show with Mike and not just a show where it was just him and Kirk. I do think there is something to say about that.
Yeah.
It was a Wednesday show. Mike was not normal. I think Steve was a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Having Mike in studio and just seeing that. So
yeah, there might be something to that.
Yeah. So sounds like Kirk and Steve are working on something regarding the case.
Yes.
This weekend or sometime next week. Can't wait for that. Anything else from today's show you wanted to touch on?
No, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, it was a good show. Carabas was great. At first I was kind of not upset, but like kind of like, come on, when he was like ignorant of the whole Madawaska stuff. It's like I understand like you're busy and stuff like that, but it aggravates me if he comes in, he's not prepared, which he was. He ended up like knowing a bunch of things.
Correct.
But I think sometimes he likes to play the character of him not knowing,
right,
more than he actually knows. He'll be like, "Oh no, I haven't heard about this," and it's like, you can pretend, but I think Carabas is well into the miniverse.
He to the degree he can, absolutely 100%. I look forward to the Friday shows. I was very hesitant in the beginning when he was first coming on, but as Kirk does, he can bring out things in people that you never would expect. And I look forward to the Friday shows, but also we have to keep in mind too, Justin, he's got, Jared has a lot of, you heard Kirk rattle off the podcast. Plus he has to follow all the major league, games and catch highlights. So
every night, I mean, he's the MLB network for a lot of people on Twitter.
Yeah.
So he's doing an awesome job. But I think that about does it for today. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Kirk and Jared. And I will talk to you guys on Wednesday.
Thank you, Justin.
Anytime.